we already didn't have a lot of business at the location that I work at, but the second Morphe opened up in our mall, it was game over. Crickets. So you're spending $10 and you just got a whole freaking face of makeup done, and I gotta make $456 today if I want to keep my job. And I absolutely love that. It pushed me. It pushed me to be a better artist. Okay, so in this video, I will be doing my makeup. As I've mentioned in my past few videos, I am on a no-buy journey challenge. We'll call it a no-buy challenge, and no-buy 2020 challenge. I just want to see how far I can get this year using as much of my makeup as possible. So the focus of today's look is going to be the Kat Von D Shade and Light Eye Palette. So anyone that has followed me for any length of time would know that I am completely obsessed with Kat Von D products. I absolutely love the products. They're beautiful. The packaging is phenomenal. Sorry about the train. It'll be gone in a minute. I have this palette and I've had it for quite some time, and it's beautiful, and I haven't even touched a lot of the colors in it. So that's what I'm going to be working on today while I talk about my experience working at MAC. I am going to start on the eyes. The best primer that I have come across in a long time is the Kat Von D High Voltage Eyeshadow Primer. I'm gonna see if the color Porcelain, it's this one right here. I'm gonna see if that is a good transition color for my skin tone working at MAC. Let me just start out by saying, when I was in beauty school a really long time ago, I had no interest in makeup. Or should I say, I was mainly focused on hair. And every Friday, a different salon would come in and tell us about their company to see if we would be interested in working for them once we graduated. And I remember there was only a week-long unit on makeup and eyelash application and things like that. And it was during that unit that I got really kind of intrigued by makeup. And then this company came in with these beautiful pigments. It was almost like not almost, it was exactly like the eyeshadows that they sell at Bare Minerals, okay? I'm feeling like this is light, but I'm gonna keep going with it. I'm gonna make it work. Anyway, yeah, so I immediately fell in love with all of the colors. I've always been a fanatic of color. Like when I was in school and when I got out and doing hair, all I wanted to do was color hair. I could care less about perm rods and roller sets and all of that. So a few years later, I realized, as my family grew, as I was having kids, I just wasn't making the money that I needed to be able to support my family. So I went back to corporate America and got literally a job at the corporate office of a college and worked there for a while. So one day a coworker was like, hey, let's go to MAC. And I was like, MAC? I've heard of MAC, but I've never been there. I don't know anything about MAC. And this was when I lived in Phoenix, Arizona. And the MAC that we went to was in the Biltmore area, which is a really nice part of town. I'm not loving this because I want to go in with a darker color. So I'm gonna use Aphrodite from Makeup Geek. That's what happened. We went to the Biltmore area and we went to MAC. I immediately fell in love and was like, oh my gosh, I have to work here one day. Like, it was a dream for me. I was like, I really want to do this, but I was just like still thinking like, how can I afford to take care of a family and work at MAC? You know, I was a single mom and it just didn't seem feasible, you know what I mean? Every payday I would just go to MAC and just go shopping and just wish that one day I could work there. So fast forward a lot of years later, I started working there, I want to say 2018 is when I started working there. I started out as a freelancer. I'm going to play with this kind of like grayish color. I think this gold one right here. Alright, so I'm going to spray it with some Rose Fix Plus to make it pop. So as a freelancer for MAC, that means that you can work at whichever location needs you, okay? So you're not committed to a schedule, you're not committed to a location. There's like literally no commitment at all. So the good thing is, if you want to work, okay, well, I shouldn't say that. If there's a schedule open, if there's a store that has availability that needs you, then okay, then you're free to work. You can take that. But if you don't want to work, you don't have to. Just don't commit to the schedule. So that's awesome, but the downside is what happens if you're really relying on hours as a freelance artist and there's no hours available. Then you're definitely screwed, because what you have to do is you have to call around to the different locations, see who is short-staffed, see who needs you, and you're not always going to find someone that needs a freelance artist. They'll need someone if it's prom season or if it's homecoming. Then yeah, they get really swamped, and then that's when they're like scrambling to find freelance artists. And the fact of the matter is, once a manager really likes you and they like your work ethic, they will keep calling you back. The thing is, just because someone is a freelance artist and just because they sign up for a shift, it doesn't mean they're going to show up. So for me, I was reliable, and the store that I got hired at for freelance, because you have to get hired under a certain manager. So the store that I got hired at, they were short-staffed, like 2 people. So I got a lot of hours when I first started. I literally freelanced at the same location for probably 2 months. It was really fun. I didn't have to worry about a sales goal. Like, I literally, my only responsibility was to show up, be on time, and just do makeup. I didn't have to worry about selling. I didn't have to worry about anything. I really, really enjoyed it. And all of a sudden, there was no freelance work anymore, which was a real bummer because I had a full-time job. I stopped working that job. I'm going in with this sparkly dark color right here. And for personal reasons, I stopped working that job, and so I was really relying on my hours at MAC, especially since I had already been there freelancing at the same location for 2 months, steadily getting like 29 hours a week. So anything over 29, you're permanent. So I was getting a lot of hours, okay? All of a sudden, there was a freeze on freelance artists. They were like redoing some things within the company, and they were making a whole lot of changes that I wasn't aware of at the time because I was freelance. There was just a lot of changes that took place within the company, so there is no freelance hours available anywhere. So the manager that hired me as a freelance artist, she was super awesome. She hit me up one day and was like, hey, there's a mall that needs a permanent artist. You need to call them right now, like right now. Because when there is a position open, it didn't stay open very long. So I called and they're like, okay, yeah, we're gonna put you on the list because we are hiring, but it's just gonna take some time, but we'll call you for an interview. It took 2 weeks, and that's when I learned things at Mac move really, really slow. So it took me 2 weeks from the time the job posting went up just to get a date for a group interview. I go into this group interview, hella nervous. There's 3 of us. One girl of which I already knew because we had freelanced together before, and she had always said, oh, I don't want to be a permanent artist, I don't this, I don't that. So I was kind of shocked to see that she was there interviewing for the permanent position. So me and her had gotten along in the past, but after the interview we heard back a week later, and I got offered a position of a 25-hour artist. So there's one for 25-hour artist, and which is the most that you can get unless you're a manager or third key. And then there's a 15-hour artist position available. So I got hired for the 25-hour artist position, and I was so ecstatic, so freaking ecstatic. It was ridiculous. So unfortunately, later on, the girl that I used to freelance with, she didn't get the position, but she came into the store one day to freelance, and she had freelanced at that store quite often, and so she knew the ropes and everything. So she came in one day and she was literally like telling me how to do my job, where things go, and then I didn't say anything. I was just like, okay, where is she going with this? Why is she trying to tell me what to do, how to do it? And she's just like, yeah, at this store we do it like this and we do it like that. And then I didn't say anything. And then something happened. I was standing there with my new with my training book, because they send you to the corporate training facility. For us here in Tampa, we go to Orlando for training. And I was standing there with my book, and she comes over, she's like, what are you doing? And I was like, working in my book because there's no customers, the store is clean, so I have downtime. And so she gives me this crazy look and she goes, wait a minute, are you permanent? And I was like, yep. And she just walks off. She got so mad, and she just had an attitude with me whenever she came in that store to work, to the point where eventually she just stopped freelancing at our store. So the location that I worked at, which you have to know the difference, I worked for a partner, and it was inside of Dillard's at this particular mall. And so you have a partner and you have a freestanding store. And unfortunately, Mac has it to where the rules are different. If it's a partner or if it's a freestanding store, the rules are different. And that sucks, because I personally felt like working in a partner location, we got treated like shit, unfortunately. And the fact of the matter is, the mall that I worked in, there were 3 Macs. The location that I was in inside Dillard's was the 3rd Mac to open in that mall. There was a freestanding Mac upstairs, there was one inside Nordstrom, and then there was the baby Mac that had just opened in Dillard's. And a lot of people still did not know that we were there because they were so used to the other Mac locations. And the reason why that is a bad thing is people do not realize that makeup artists at Mac, some of those changes that took place during the time that I wasn't able to freelance, when they were just like shut everything down for a couple months. One of the changes that they were making were the sales goals and how important it was to hit your sales goal. So from my understanding, prior to working at Mac, they had it to where, yes, you had a sales goal, but if you didn't make it, you didn't make it. Oh well. But in that time, they decided that if you are working there and you do not make your sales goal 3 times in 6 months, then you are terminated. And that really upset a lot of people, because there were people that worked there for a few years and they were good employees, but they were let go because they couldn't make their goal. And you know, that really sucked, because they put in a lot of time and effort. I personally don't think people are shopping in malls like they used to. They are doing a lot of their shopping online, or they're going to competitors, because I will tell you this, we already didn't have a lot of business at the location that I worked at, but the second Morphe opened up in our mall, it was game over. Crickets. I mean crickets. Like, I remember when the James Charles palette came out, and people would literally just use our store as a walkthrough to get, like, they would park at the Dillard's parking lot, walk through our little area to get into the mall, go to Morphe, get their James Charles palette, and come back through with their Morphe bags. And I was like, damn, that put a lot more pressure on us, because again, we had sales goals to meet and they weren't getting met. And then the crazy thing is, when we did get customers, they would come in to get their makeup done and they wouldn't buy anything. They would not buy a thing. And because we're inside Dillard's, they didn't have to buy anything. And that's the other thing that sucked. And that's why I feel like, okay, well, we have sales goals to meet, but you're allowing people to come in and get their makeup done with no minimum purchase. And if they did buy something just because they felt bad, it would be like a mini sitting by the register. So you're spending $10 and you just got a whole freaking face of makeup done, and I gotta make $456 today if I want to keep my job. I mean, thank goodness for loyal customers, because I had customers that I absolutely adored, and they adored me, and they would bring friends and family in to shop with me. Like, people would only shop if I was working. Another issue I had is weekends. So as a makeup artist, and only being part-time, because you can only be full-time if you're management, I didn't get weekends off. I would get a Sunday off like maybe once a month, but most of the time I worked pretty much every Sunday. I worked every single Saturday. And women that need makeup artists will come into MAC to hire makeup artists for weddings, special events, parties. And I always had to turn them down because I had to work. And the fact of the matter is, MAC gives a huge discount. My favorite thing about it, they give a huge discount to their makeup artists, so that way you can buy the makeup at an awesome price to fill your kit, but you have this kit that you can't use because, and it wasn't even every location, it was just my location, because they were going through some things and I couldn't get the time off that I needed, and it really sucked. I remember someone needed their makeup done, and I was like, look, I'm only available in the morning. Like, I had to open the store that day. I had to be there at 9:45. So my poor client, thank God for her, like I had to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, get to her house, and she had to get up early so I could do her makeup before I went to work and did an 8-hour shift. So I mean, there were workarounds, but it wasn't ideal. And I know most makeup artists do have to get up at the butt crack of dawn to do makeup, but it's just the situation that I was in. It was crazy. And not to mention, if you are part-time, you don't have medical benefits, you don't have sick time, you don't have any of that. So like, you would get 1 week off a year and you had to use that week at the same time. So like at most jobs that I've had, I could split up my vacation time throughout the year. So if like I got burned out or even sick for that matter, I could split up my time. Well, at Mac, I had to use the whole week at once. I will say one of my favorite things about working at Mac though, it really was the customers. Like I would meet, yeah, not everyone is going to be a dreamboat, you know, not everyone is an ideal customer, because unfortunately people come in there and because you are a makeup artist and you're basically of service to them, they can treat you really bad, because like they think you're at their beck and call. They think that like a lot of people would come in and they just had no respect at all. I mean, I'm talking from the adults all the way down to the teenage girls that bring in pictures and want to look like the girls they see on Instagram, but don't realize that the picture has been face-tuned within an inch of its life, but they're demanding to look like a whole different person. But honestly, I've met some really awesome, this is the Maybelline Master Camo palette, it's a color correcting palette. I have met some really amazing people there, and like no joke, even co-workers that I've met and have such an awesome relationship with them, and they just made working there that much better. I mean, I know everyone has those special people or that special person that you go to work, you look at the schedule and you're like, yes, I work with this person today, oh that's awesome, you know. So I do have people like that like people that even worked at other locations that I built relationships with, like not even people that worked at my store, you know, and I'm so thankful for that, you know, so thankful for that. And then customers, like the awesome thing about being a makeup artist are the customers that truly touch your heart. There are women, and they're the reason why I do this, there are women that would come in and they just feel some type of way, you know, like they're unhappy with their appearance, even though they're absolutely beautiful inside and out. They're unhappy with their appearance and they want to look different, and just the amount of joy that they have once I was done doing their makeup, when they see the final reveal and they're just over the moon. I mean, I've had customers that have come in just to give me a hug and tell me, my makeup was so beautiful, you did such a good job, thank you, you know, or like I commanded everyone's attention when I walked into the room that night, you know. So it's just like things like that are the reason why I put up with literally all the bullshit. And believe me, there's a lot of bullshit to put up with, you know. What else is some of my favorite things? I absolutely loved going to the trainings in Orlando, like, because I got to meet people from all over the region and built relationships with them. That was dope. I absolutely loved that. Now, the trainings with Mac are really awesome because you are learning new tips and tricks, and you're learning about the trends. Like, they forecast all that. They have to, just like fashion designers, makeup companies have to forecast the trends as well to tell you what's about to be hot and what's over. That was really fun. And then we would practice on each other. So as makeup artists, you have like 30 makeup artists in this room, and we are all barefaced, just working on each other. Okay, so I am concealing under my eyes first before I do my foundation. This is personal preference, but this is just how I like to do it sometimes. And I'm still using the camo palette. The trainers at MAC were so awesome, and if I stayed, because I ended up quitting, but if I would have stayed, that was my goal. That's what I wanted to do, was be a trainer. A lot of this makeup that I'm trying to get rid of is because it was gratis from MAC, which is another awesome thing about being a makeup artist and working at MAC. Not only do you have that huge discount, but you also get free products. Okay, so speaking of MAC, I am using my Pro Longwear Nourishing Waterproof Foundation in NW45. The thing about MAC foundations is the colors are not consistent through all of the foundations. So I used to wear the, shoot, I can't remember the name of my favorite foundation now, damn. If I could think about it, I'll put it right here. But I'm NW47 in that one, and it was the perfect color for me. This one is NW45, and as it oxidizes, it's too dark for me. So that's why I wanted to go super light under my eyes with a concealer to kind of even it out. Because if you ever have foundation that is too dark for you, you can usually fix it with a lighter concealer than you would usually highlight with. And as you can see, like, my neck is a little bit lighter than this, so of course I'm going to bring my foundation down to my neck, but I just want to use a tiny bit of this. I don't want to use a whole lot. But yeah, so working at MAC, it had its ups and downs. And as a freelance artist, if I knew as a freelance artist what I knew as a permanent artist, would I still have taken a permanent position? Absolutely. Because the knowledge and the experience that I got as a permanent artist, there's no way that I could have got that as a freelance artist. There's just no way. Freelance artists do not go for training. Freelance artists do not get a discount. What else? It's just different. It's just totally different. And from what I've seen as a freelance artist, you do build a relationship somewhat with the full-timer, but nothing like when you're a permanent artist, because as a freelance artist, you don't know the struggle of having to make a sales goal. You don't know the struggle of needing to make an $800 sales goal on a Saturday or on a Friday, and there's no customers, you know, or people coming in to get their makeup done and not buying anything. But I am thankful for the opportunity, because it was something that I had wanted to do for so long, and because I had been out of the game for so long, and I stayed in the corporate world for so long, working in an office and everything, it just, I had something to prove to myself. I wholeheartedly felt like I had something to prove to myself, because before I worked at MAC, I mean, I also worked at Bare Minerals and I worked at other makeup places, but MAC was still like the thing that I wanted to do. MAC was still the goal for me. It was still the dream. I'm using the Anastasia Beverly Hills Contour Cream Kit. And to be honest, there are people that I know, regardless of the changes that they've made, regardless of the sales goal, regardless of anything, there are people that I know that are at MAC and have been there for years, and they have no intentions on going anywhere, and they are completely happy with being there. They're completely happy with their location. And I just wish that I could have been one of those people. And friends of mine have told me that they feel that I just didn't have a good location. I didn't have an ideal location that I worked at. And because I didn't have an ideal location, I just got a bad experience. And I believe that wholeheartedly. Like, I believe even if I stayed at the location that I got hired at freelancing originally, I believe that my experience would have been totally different. I wouldn't dare say that just because my experience was like that, that the next person's experience would be like that. Like, I wouldn't dare say that. I'm using my Great Lash Mascara. I will say this, MAC pushed my creativity because there would be different theme days and we had to wear a certain theme when there was a new product launch, or you know, we had to learn how to use certain products. And with so many people coming in and so many different skin types, so many different facial structures, so many different types of features, like you have to learn all these different features and you have to learn all these different skin types and how to prep the skin. If it's dry, what products to use. If it's oily, what products to use. And I absolutely love that. It pushed me. It pushed me to be a better artist. I mean, even with my own makeup, like with the MAC, there are certain rules. Like you have to wear like 3 products on your face for your skin, 3 on your cheeks, 3 on your lips, 3 on your brows. Like there are things like you would not believe. Like there are certain rules. And the other thing I absolutely loved is you were free to be who you wanted to be and express yourself through your clothes and your makeup. Like you were free to do whatever you wanted. And that's really, at the end of the day, that's all anyone wants, is to be able to express themselves, especially artists and anyone that's in a creative industry. Like when you go into a MAC store, no 2 people look the same unless it's a theme day and like they had to, but no 2 people look the absolute same. So do I appreciate MAC for the experience? Oh my gosh, absolutely. Am I happy with my decision to work there? 100%. Am I happy with my decision to quit? Absolutely. All right, so that's the look. I'm actually quite pleased with it. I do like the way that it came out. I had no idea what I was going for when I first started. But yeah, so if you have any questions, leave them down below. I'd be more than happy to answer them for you. If you have questions on, or if you'd like to see a video on the hiring process and how to get hired when applying for a makeup artist position, because like I said, I've worked for MAC as freelance and permanent. I worked for Bare Mineral as a makeup artist. I have worked at Macy's in the beauty department I was actually a floater there, so I worked for every single brand. Chanel, Shiseido, Estee Lauder, Clinique, and a few others. So if you have any questions on how to get hired as a makeup artist, please feel free to let me know and I'll make a separate video for that. But yeah, overall, I am happy that I got what I wanted. I worked at MAC. I do still absolutely love the company. I do love the company. I love the products. My favorite thing from MAC are the lipsticks. Speaking of lipstick, I am wearing the color Verona from Ofra. Yeah, and that is it for this video. Oh, you know what? I didn't do a highlighter. Oh my gosh, I got so carried away. You know what? While we're talking about MAC, let's go with the Hyper Real Glow. And I'm gonna use this color. There we go. And let's finish it off with the Rose Fix Plus. Alright, so while this dries, I just want to say thank you so much for watching. I do know this video was kind of all over the place. I'm trying to do more talking in my videos, trying to give you guys more information, because I just feel like a lot of people, like, I feel like YouTube is not what it used to be in the beauty community, and I really hope that it goes back to what it used to be, where makeup was just fun and people were able to express themselves creatively, and that's my goal with this channel. So I want to do my best to teach you and give you all my knowledge. But yes, please give this video a thumbs up. Tell me in the comments anything that you might have learned or about working at MAC or the makeup industry in general. Leave me a comment of something that you would like to hear me talk about in one of my next videos. But other than that, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.